Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling, your ultimate destination for all things going on in the world of professional wrestling. Whether you're a hardcore wrestling fanatic or just a casual viewer, we've got you covered with the latest news, in depth show reviews, and our unfiltered opinions. Get ready to step into the ring with us and stay on top of the wrestling world. This is Top Tier Wrestling. Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling. I'm your host, Maxwell Joshua Friedman, and I'm better than you, and you know it. And joining me is my co-host, Dawn B. Allen. And tonight we're breaking down AEW Dynamite. Let's get into it.
Not the DARBY ALLIN.
The very same.
Oh no. My goodness.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, Dawn B had to bust through 5 panes of glass and jump off of Mount Everest with a parachute in order to do this podcast today.
It's true. It's true. I mean, I'm not bragging or nothing, but brag.
Indeed. This episode is phenomenal, this episode of Dynamite. It's brought to us live from Everett, Washington, and this is the Spring Breakthrough episode. And I don't think either of us knew going in that this was going to be such a banger of an episode, but it turns out to be.
Yeah, I did not know. I had not signed up for this.
Now, we open up the show with Renee Paquette out in the back near the garage. Renee Paquette waiting for AEW World Champion MJF to arrive. And once he gets there, she's trying to inform MJF that Darby won the match between himself and Andrade El Idolo at Dynasty and intends to utilize the title shot opportunity tonight. But MJF will not let her get a word in edgewise. And before she could say anything, Don Callis approaches and apologizes to MJF. After congratulating him for beating Kenny Omega, he apologizes for Andrade not being able to defeat Darby Allin. And he said, MJF goes on to say that that's news to him. He didn't see the main event because he was preparing, or he didn't see the match because he was preparing for the main event against Omega. And he informs Don Callis that the Callis family owes him a favor then. And Renee finally had enough and screams at MJF to listen to her as she tries to explain the situation to him, that not only does he have a match tonight for the AEW World Championship with Darby Allin, but that the match is right now. And that immediately cuts to Allin coming out to the ring to a massive ovation. He is a Washington native, so these are his people. And not too long after that, we hear MJF's music, and he comes out, and he immediately grabs the mic to inform everyone that they're deluding themselves if they think he's going to go in unprepared for a title match. It just ain't happening. And the crowd starts responding with "Ring the Bell" as a chant. And he goes on to try and explain that, you know, he's in fact doing Darby Allin a favor by not wrestling him. Because while he is beloved and an underdog, he's not ready to be the world champion. And Allin immediately snatches the mic from him, and he talks about, like, all that he's sacrificed to be here. If he's not ready now, he never will be. Ring the bell. And MJF continues to protest, but then they're interrupted from the announce booth by Bryan Danielson, who informs them that Tony Khan has agreed that it's not fair for MJF to have to wrestle a match where he's unprepared. And MJF looks hella relieved, and Darby Allin's like, "What?" And then Brian Danielson says, "So instead of it being the first match of the night, Tony Khan's agreed that Darby Allin versus MJF will be the main event." And upon hearing this, the crowd is relieved. Everybody's relieved except for MJF. And Darby Allin grabs the mic again and says, "Tonight in the main event, I'm beating your ass with a headlock takeover." And then he hops out of the ring and heads back, much to the cheering of the crowd and the chagrin of one MJF.
Yeah. And he has to do the match or else he forfeits the belt. So
Indeed.
he gonna get
You
it
got to
now.
defend it. You got to defend that title.
Which is an amazing opening to what is quite possibly one of the best episodes of Dynamite for 2026. Probably one of the best episodes of Dynamite, period. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
it's pretty shiny.
and you guys
Following
know I'm not all about all the talky words, like nonstop talky words for the opener. Give us some matches, but this one starts out hot. They open up with some really good storytelling, and then they continue that because they go. The next thing they do is I think you're just about to talk about it, and please continue.
Well, if you'd like to speak to it, by all means. But following that, we are taken to the back where Tony Schiavone tried to catch up with Kenny Omega. And did you want to speak to how that interaction went?
Well, I mean, I somewhat just did. I was just saying that it started out with lots of you know a lot of talking, but it was a lot of storytelling that needed to happen to get this episode kicked into gear. So after you had MJF, and have his little altercation with Darby, and Renee Paquette gets to tell him that the match is right now. She was so happy to say that. She yelled at him, but then she immediately was gleeful because now she had his attention. It was adorable that she got to tell him like right now. She was so happy. Um, but then after that, we had Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay backstage, and I mean, boy, uh, I actually felt very happy that they put this in, but they were both just lamenting their losses at Dynasty, and Will Ospreay and Kenny just gave us some heart tuggers at the very beginning, and it's like I'm not crying, you're crying, shut up. but but I mean, it was a really good segment where they both just pretty much talked about how they wish they had won their matches, and Kenny feels as if his time has ended. He feels like his last time was there, and but he feels that Will Ospreay is just starting, so he is basically the future. And Will Ospreay agreed that his time was coming, but he also agreed that or he did not agree that Kenny Omega's time was done. He felt that Kenny still had some some more in him, and he even mentioned before he walked away that Kenny was his hero, which gave Kenny Omega a brand new light. Like a light came on. It like you could see it. You could see like he processed what he had just said, and then I don't know. It was like another piece of armor was put back onto Omega, and then he needed some time to process, and he asked the cameraman to fuck off, and so we did. Uh, gentle viewers, we all backed the fuck up while Kenny Omega processed what he had just learned. In fact, I think he even said maybe I can't give up then if I'm your hero. If he was like he was talking to himself, but he was speaking about what Osprey had just said to him. Which was God, that was so good.
it
That was
was.
so good.
It was a tremendous moment between those two men, and it was a nice catharsis for AEW fans because coming out of Dynasty, it was not a good time for those who were rooting for Will Ospreay or Kenny Omega.
Yeah,
Um, so this was good, regroup and retaliate. And it was good. It was good that these two men were there to encourage one another and not become dispirited. And it was a wonderful segment. I liked it a lot.
yeah. Uh, and then after that, ladies and gentlemen, the violence that we all wanted and needed in our lives ensued. With one psycho killer, Tommaso Ciampa, uh, having a match against Desmond Xavier of the Rascals. If you don't know the Rascals, you will soon. If you've been paying attention to AEW, these gents are the real deal. They're really, really good. Each individual that we've seen so far, amazing in the ring. However, Tommaso is a bit miffed that things didn't go his way at Dynasty. You can kind of see it all over him. He's not very happy. He's not in a very pleasant mood. Um, there is no playing to the crowd or anything. My man is just hot about it. And yeah, he expresses his his displeasure. He just expresses his displeasure by whooping Desmond's ass, man.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, not for nothing, Desmond showed up and he tried to get his move
He
set out,
showed up.
but Tommaso Ciampa was just infuriated tonight.
Yeah, Tommaso gave zero fucks. There was a point that I found very very amusing. In the match where people were calling the fans were chanting the ball chant to Tomasa, and he literally, like, in the middle of the match, walks over to the announcer's table and grabs the mic and basically tells them that he's not. He's like, "I'm not Ricochet. Save that ball chant for somebody else."
Right? Miss me with that bald shit.
Yeah, miss me with that, and then he goes back to whooping ass, which the audience loved. Um, yeah, this match, fucking brutal opener. Um, and I mean, Desmond did what he could, you know. Every time I see Desmond's name, I think of Desmond the Moon Bear. I don't know if anybody knows about that, but that's for another podcast.
Yeah, when
Both
I hear
him
the
and
name,
Desmond the Moon Bear didn't make it. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, I remember two things about Desmond, particularly as it relates to this match. Like, one, when I hear the name Desmond, I immediately think of the character that was like the main, like the original protagonist of Assassin's Creed. So
Yeah.
that's me. I think of Desmond Miles. But secondarily, we were like trying to figure out how Excalibur pronounces that name because he was saying something like
I couldn't.
Desmond or something. It
It
was
didn't
funny.
even. I couldn't really
Yeah,
catch it.
Deseldemond.
It sounded like what he was saying was a killing word, and I couldn't catch it. So like he would say it and time would warp, and I never understood fully what he said to me.
Uh,
Uh,
he's like
that's what it was like trying to read something in
Avra
the dream.
Desmond.
I'm like, what did you just say, bruh?
The
Quit playing
Demonimims?
with me.
What?
Quit playing with me. You didn't say that. But every time I see that dude's name, I think Desmond the Moon Bear, and then, and then it cuts to Desmond the Moon Bear on the moon, and he's like, "How did I get here?" And that's the end. Okay.
Well, I can see the parallels because I imagined after the match, Desmond Xavier was wondering,
He
how
got
did I
up and
get
was
here?
like, "How did I?" He wakes up in ER. How did I get here?
Yeah.
Desmond the Ring Bear. Yeah.
Yep. Because Champa ends up just demolishing him. They put on a pretty good match, and you see some of the high flying skills of Desmond to be sure. And Champa has never looked better than his run here in AEW. But ultimately, Ciampa's able to hit Project Ciampa, the massive like power bomb into a backstabber, and Xavier is like, "Brr," he's dead at that point.
Yeah.
So then Ciampa picks up his lifeless body and sets him up into a kneeling position just so that he can knock him back down with the bicycle knee that he likes to use, which, at that point it was academic. It was one, two, three.
Yeah.
And brutal. Brutal. But
He
then he
wouldn't.
looks,
Yep.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. No, no, you.
But then he looks towards the camera and he says, "Look, these guys, this is bullshit. I'm here. I came to AEW because it's where the quote unquote best wrestle, and I'm here for all the gold." And he puts Darby Allin and MJF on notice that whoever wins that match, the Psycho Killer's coming for him and that AEW World Title.
Gulp. And then he kicked Desmond the ring bear out of the
He
ring.
did. He did. Now he's Desmond the on the
The
floor
floor
bear.
bear. How did I get here?
I'm pretty sure one of the refs will let him know.
You,
Um,
you got kicked out of the ring, boo. Yeah, like he wakes up in heaven. Good morning, angel.
right. It's like a situation where the bell rings and then suddenly he's in heaven.
He's
And
in
it's like,
heaven, and there's
damn
just
it.
just an angel. Good morning, baby. You had quite the fall. Come on inside. Oh man.
But following that just brutal match, um, we are given a video package that sort of explains some of Darby Allin's journey in AEW and a bit of the significance of the headlock takeover because MJF has faced Darby Allin 2 times prior to the main event this evening, and both times he ended up defeating Darby Allin with a headlock takeover. As it should be pointed out, and Excalibur did, it's easy to beat anybody with a headlock takeover after you've knocked them unconscious using the Dynamite Diamond Ring.
Yeah.
And then we hear from FTR.
Yeah, bro. Okay, so I
Darkness,
said this
my
was
old
I,
friend.
I said this was an amazing, amazing episode, and it was. But FTR came out there, and they just all they wanted to do was celebrate the fact that they won. That was it. And they came out there and they talked smack for like 3 or 4 minutes, and then they left. But remember when Shivani saw that FTR was gonna come out
Oh, God.
and
That
talk?
was the best part. Shivani was so feisty this episode.
He was the feisty most, y'all. He was like, "Oh, good, FCR is coming out to talk to us. That's great. I love it." Like
He was so miffed about it.
he was
He's like, oh,
so
that's awesome.
yeah. This is great for all of us. This is a great day for our country. Yeah, like he was not having that, but
Yeah.
all they did was come out and gloat. I mean, literally that was it. They came out, they all said a little thing, and then the bald one was like, "Hey, thanks, you guys have been great. Good night," and that was it. FTR out, and they fucked off.
Yeah.
Hey, I guess
Right.
they needed to do something with time for a little bit. Uh, they were trying to get Desmond to the hospital, and they just needed, I guess, a distraction. I'm not sure.
Well, there was a couple of things worth mentioning in that. There was a big Strokely.
Oh my god. Ugh.
Uh, yeah, he was talking about. He's like, "Hey, everybody here's educated, and almost everybody knows the story of David versus Goliath." Well, FTR is Goliath, and my first thought was like, "You remember how that story went for Goliath, right?
Yeah, like he got his ass beat by a
Dumbass."
rock.
And not the Rock, just a Rock.
Yeah, just a rock, not even the rock, a rock that a little
And
dude picked up with. Fink. right into his little
Yeah,
stupid head.
yeah, and the whole time FTR is mocking Christian Cage and Adam Copeland, saying, "Well, we finished off their careers; they're gone forever. Bye." And then they did like they copied the 5 second pose, but they one upped them because it was a 10-second pose, and
Bye.
so there was so much just smack talk going on
Yeah.
here. So they basically said, none of you little Davids in the tag team division can step up to the Goliath. And then we were like, ugh, barf. And they did their 10-second pose and left. And we were like, yay, they're gone. And that led us to our next match of the night, a TNT Championship match, which was somewhat surprising because Kevin Knight had only won it 3 days prior.
Mhm.
But the new champion, the Jet Kevin Knight, is defending against Claudio Castagnoli of the Death Riders. And man, that is not an easy first title defense. Claudio
Oh,
Castagnoli, come on.
they did not start out small.
No. So that said, what were your thoughts on this TNT Championship match?
Thought it was a pretty brutal match, but I thought it was good. Claudio had never looked better than he does now in AEW. It just suits his style very well. But him and Kevin Knight, who is man earning that paycheck, like like he's out here working it, and doing a fantastic job. Um, they looked really good. This is a good solid bout between the two. I thought for sure though that Claudio would manhandle him a lot. And he really didn't. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't, but it's not as much as I thought. You know what I mean? I feel like Kevin
Yeah.
Knight held his own very well against Claudio, surprisingly well against Claudio. But uh, all in all, I thought it was a pretty good first defense for Kevin Knight. Um, I was very interested. Excuse me, hiccup. I was very interested in what he said after the match was over. I was for sure that someone would come out in response to that. And what I'd be interested to hear what you thought about what he said after the match and the match itself.
As for the match itself, I agree with you. I thought Castagnoli was going to hit him with more power moves than he ended up able to, but Kevin Knight kept countering out of him.
Yep.
Um, and the way the match ends up ending kind of like puts a fine point on the way the whole rest of the match was wrestled. Castagnoli tries to do a slingshot catapult to Kevin Knight, throwing him into the turnbuckles, and Kevin Knight jumps out of it, lands on the middle rope, and then jumps right back off and does a twisting lariat to Claudio. And then while Claudio is reeling from that on the mat, he just rushes right up to the top rope and hits a huge UFO splash to get the pinfall victory. And that was kind of a synopsis of how the whole rest of the match went. Claudio kept trying to use his power advantage against Knight, but Knight would just keep countering out of it. So good match, really
Yeah.
good match between the two of them. But Kevin Knight's counter wrestling just prevailed for him against Castagnoli's, you know, advantage of power. Um, but after that, Kevin Knight did get on the mic and gave props to Castagnoli for being one of the hardest hitting people he's ever been in the ring with. And he goes on to say that of himself, he's looking good and feeling better as the new TNT champ. He apologized for losing the AEW World Trios titles, but then winning the TNT title. And he knows that his partner, Speedball Mike Bailey, is kind of beating himself up over the loss of the Trios titles. But sometimes when one door opens or when one door closes, another one opens. And I think he said something along the lines of sometimes you got to slow down a bit before you speed up again. And he goes on to say that he's riding high. He'll be keeping a close eye on the main event because 2 titles uh, the Jet 2 title sounds pretty good. So he is also, sorry, what did he say? Not two titles. It was what, Jet 2 belts or something like that? Two
Something like
belts
that.
night. I don't but it was something along that. He said it sounds too fly. But he also has put MJF and Darby Allin on notice. So they are absolutely keeping the AEW World Championship like the prize that everyone is after, and I'm here for it. I love
Yeah.
seeing so many challengers for the main prize, the men's AEW World Championship. That's fantastic.
Yep.
I do admit, and I think this is what you were getting at when you asked me what I thought about what he said on the mic. I admit I thought we were going to hear or see something about the fact that he won the TNT title by making a save on Mike Bailey, and
Yeah.
none of that was addressed. So I thought maybe they were going to, but they didn't, at least not on this episode.
Yeah. I thought it was also interesting that he told Mike Bailey that he doesn't blame him for losing the belts and don't beat himself up and all that. And I'm like, why would you?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I thought he was suggesting that, Mike Bailey is beating himself up over that, and that he,
Right.
his partner doesn't blame him.
Yeah, Mike Bailey is beating himself up. And I'm like, why would Mike Bailey beat himself up about this though? He didn't lose technically. He didn't lose the belts. He didn't. Am I wrong? Wasn't it Kevin Knight that got pinned for the loss?
I thought so, and I thought there was a whole segment of them like
Right.
I thought the reverse was true. So I felt like that was a bit strange because it was Kevin Knight who got pinned
Yeah.
for the trios belts. So I'm not entirely sure what he meant by that, but I'm hoping that they'll let that play out further.
Yeah.
Like maybe we're going to see an arc where you know Kevin Knight is on a push, so he starts feeling big in the britches and gets a little too big for the britches, kind of a thing.
Mayhaps. But I mean, if they're saying that we're gonna see a match between Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey, let's go Speedball,
Yeah.
Speedball, Speedball. It was
Speedball.
I was waiting for.
I love
Uh,
Mike Bailey's entrance music. It's
yeah,
fantastic. But then again, I just generally love Mike Bailey. So if they want to invert reality where Kevin Knight acts like Mike Bailey is the one that's holding him back, because for the longest time we were like, well, they're introducing Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight, and I feel like Mike Bailey is getting way more over than Kevin Knight, thus the need to push Kevin Knight like they've been doing, because Mike Bailey got himself over like with the crowd like instantly. So if they're going to invert that and have Kevin Knight get big in the britches and act like, that Mike Bailey is the second fiddle in their relationship, that's going to be both hilarious because it's not true, and it's going to be awesome when that explodes,
yeah,
as wrestling friendships often do.
yeah. I'll be down with that.
Yeah. But then following that, we are treated to Jericho coming out to Judas with Rennie Paquette in the ring. And not for nothing, Rennie Paquette was looking extra cute as a button on this episode. Um,
Yeah, she
and
was. She had a bright eyed and bushy tailed look about her because she got to tell bad news to MJF and it just made her happy.
it
For
made
the
her
rest of, for
super
the rest of the
happy.
night, she had a glow.
That I got to deliver bad news to MJF glow.
Yeah, she had Christmas face. But then she gets to talk to Jericho, who comes out, and we get to hear the dun dun da 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 da. You know that song. It's a banger.
Bum, bum, ba-da. Yep. Yeah,
And
it was good.
the audience sings along, so she had to be a part of that, and there was lots of chants for Jericho. And of course, he's gonna eat it up like that dude eats it up, and I love that about him. That's never not been him. He'll eat it up. Um, but he comes out, and she's basically asking him about the match that he had with Ricochet. Did I just take over the damn? Please continue.
I was gonna let you cook.
I
Um,
just I'm like, move out the kitchen, please. Let me get this going. Let me get
yeah,
this
yeah,
skillet.
hey. But yeah, once the crowd settled down enough for Renee to actually talk to Jericho, Jericho first addresses the loss to Ricochet at Dynasty. He goes on to say despite that fact, it was one of his favorite matches in a long time. But he didn't lose because he was rusty. He lost because he was outnumbered 3-1. And true
Right.
facts. I mean, that's
True.
just true
True.
facts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then he started to try and say something of Ricochet. I think he was going to give him his props. That, of course, cues ha ha, which is the beginning of Ricochet and the Demand coming to the ring. And they appear at the top of the ramp. And immediately there's bald chants. And this is just the beginning of some excellent bald action. Um, And he goes on to say that while he respects Jericho, he had to take the opportunity to take Jericho out with his own move, the Lion Salt, which he has now renamed to the Rika Salt, which doesn't sound nearly as cool. Um, Rico Salt sounds like something like legal, like you've activated Rico, and this is going to be, the charges are upgraded. But I digress. Uh, He says Jericho did pretty well for you know, having been away from the ring for such a long time, but he wasn't able to overcome the rise of Ricochet. And rise of Ricochet is apparently code for Ricochet getting the Gates of Agony to do all of his dirty work when he can't get the job done.
Yeah.
Um, he informed Jericho that he should quit while he's ahead, and since he's the master of reinvention, why doesn't he become the how about this for a character idea? Jericho, the guy who gets his ass beat by the Demand every week. And he says, maybe it wouldn't be so bad if you stuck around like that. Could be the best run of your entire career. And that's when that's when one of my favorite parts of the entire evening takes place.
Oh,
Jericho
please.
takes the mic from Renee Paquette. Actually, he doesn't take it from her. He says, Renee, do you mind? He was very polite to Renee Paquette
He was.
because
He
he's
was.
smart and he knows no one would approve of anything bad ever happening to Renee Paquette.
Never. Ever.
Um, and he proceeds to start. He's talking to Ricochet Bald, and he keeps going on about how Ricochet Bald couldn't have possibly defeated Jericho without the use of, the Gates of Agony. What was it? Stupid and
Dumb and
dumb,
ugly.
or dumb and ugly. And so every line he states to Ricochet is punctuated with either the words bald on the end or dumb and
Dumb and
ugly on the
ugly.
end. And it was so great. It was the best thing ever. This was such a fun promo from Jericho, and I never not find it hilariously amusing to call Ricochet bald. And I was tickled because it was like Jericho was saying it the way you and I say it. We're like bald,
Bald.
so it was so good. But Ricochet,
Has no sense of
turns.
humor.
He has no sense of humor and didn't find it funny in the least, even though
No
everyone
chill.
else in the universe did.
No
And he
chill. You got
turns
no chill, bro.
Zero Chill is his new name. Ricochet Zero Chill. He turns to the Gates of Agony and says, "Look, I'm going to go down there, and no matter what, y'all don't interfere." And so he goes down to the ring, immediately starts getting his ass beat by Chris Jericho, and then the Gates of Agony immediately enter the ring, and they three-man beat down Jericho. And after the Gates of Agony hit him with their tag team finisher, the like big double. I want to almost say it's a choke slam, but it's really not. It's more like a double team crucifix power bomb. Um, they hit they hit Jericho with that, leaving him lying in the middle of the ring. And to add insult to injury, Ricochet decides to finish off the segment by hitting Jericho with a Rico Salt.
Again, you little twat.
So
You little twat waffle.
I have to think that they are setting up Chris Jericho to reunite maybe with Big Bill and Big Brian Keith, or sorry, the bounty hunter Brian Keith, because why else? I mean, where else can you go? Jericho has to find somebody
Yeah.
to counteract Ricochet's Gates of Agony, and he has history with Brian Keith and Big Bill and Brian Keith absolutely have history with the Gates of Agony.
Yep.
So I have to think that's the direction this is heading in, but we've got to see Jericho, getting beat up and the advantage of numbers just being the reason that brings Jericho back to Big Bill and Brian Keith. At least that's my thoughts on where they're heading with this. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way. I think that they're going this route. But like I said last podcast, I would need for not Ricochet. I would need for Jericho to give them some sort of apology or something. I mean, they can't just come in as gimps or little henchmen. I'm not feeling that. So if they come in as equals and just start whooping some ass, then I'm okay with it. Just bring
Yeah,
them back because they're both really good. They're both good.
yeah, I agree, and I agree wholeheartedly that I think this time it needs to be less like protege and teacher, and more of a situation of like allies and equals.
Yeah,
With Jericho eating just a touch of humble pie, which is something Jericho has a hard time swallowing, but I think he's going to need to here a little bit
yeah,
because they're setting the stage where he needs them.
yeah. I agree.
But following that fantastic promo segment, oh man, Jericho hasn't lost a step. Um, we are taken to the events of the post match last Sunday after Dynasty, where the Young Bucks end up defeating the Don Callis family's Kazuchika Okada and Takeshita. And what we are treated to is Renee Paquette trying to catch up with Don Callis and Kazuchika Okada to ask what happened to the loss with the Young Bucks. And Callis quite straightforwardly says it was a 2-on situation. And then we see Takeshita walking past them in the background, and Callis calls him back, and he's like, "What happened out there?" And Takeshita is all like, mockingly, "It was an accident. Oops, I'm so sorry." And he's just mocking the way Okada did. And it's a clear sign that Takeshita is absolutely fed up with both Don Callis and Okada's bullshit.
Yeah.
And Takeshita then walks away, and Okada like screams some angry Japanese at him, and Callis is trying to calm the situation down. So we're very clearly seeing that like Takeshita and Okada, that's not going to work. They're not going to be able to play nice together. And it's not because Takeshita didn't try, but Okada is just like the trolliest troll that ever trolled. And for whatever reason, Takeshita just pisses him off by existing. It
Yep.
makes me feel like Okada is threatened by Takeshita,
I mean, I don't think you're wrong. I think he is. I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know if he's like, younger, hotter talent in his eyes or what. I don't know
right?
what it
Yeah.
is, but they need to get something answered between the two of them.
Yeah, and I have a strong feeling that that answer is going to be Takeshita, like, force feeding a middle finger to Okada. Like, I just don't see a way that this ends without Takeshita beating the holy hell out of Okada.
Yeah, I agree.
But following that video promo, we are taken to our next match of the night. This is Will Ospreay having a match for reasons against
Yeah,
CMLL World Heavyweight Champion Hechicero. And
that is exactly how I felt about that. Yeah,
I believe that the announce desk even addressed that. Like, you know, if you're wearing this much kinesio tape and you're beat up and you just fought your ass off at Dynasty, why have this match? And the answer that they came up with was because the crowd there in Washington wanted to see him wrestle, so he's having this match, even though he's clearly not 100%.
yeah,
Hasn't been since he returned, despite having claimed, you know, I'm fully healed and cleared. Apparently, any time anybody so much as looks at Will Ospreay's neck, he goes into a fetal position. So,
yeah.
that said, what were your thoughts on this match between him and Hechicero?
The storytelling here is interesting with Will Ospreay. I don't know how I feel about it because they did a great job of making us have the feeling of invincibility when it came to Will Ospreay. And then he goes away for his neck surgery, which was kind of like um sobering for a lot of fans, myself included. Uh, that he would have to go away for neck surgery. I mean, it makes sense. This dude throws his body around he like a heavier Darby Allen. You know what I mean? He sacrifices himself for the craft that he loves. He loves this. So they did such a great job of making him seem just like impenetrable. This guy is a solid foundation to build the future of wrestling on. And then he goes away, he comes back, and everything that we've seen from him since then has been so human that it's very startling. It's uncomfortable, really. Um and they're doing a great job with the storytelling. I just it's uncomfortable because I'm like, what are we doing with him though? What are we doing? So this match, I mean, although it was good and Will Ospreay did end up getting the victory, he did so in a clever way, but he also got his ass beat. Like, this is again another match where first of all, Ospreay is amazing at his craft. He's amazing at taking bumps and making them look disgusting. But from the jump, from the very beginning of the match, I think the very first hit that he received, he ended up in pain because of his neck. He was immediately grabbing his neck. And the commentators are like, yeah, they pretty much said as much. Like, don't know why he's having this match right now. Uh, and whenever it was mentioned, because I think it was Don Callis who mentioned, because the fans want to see him, and this is what he'll do to himself. Which, I mean, first of all, how dare you guys make me agree with something Don Callis says? How very dare you? But also, yeah, I mean, it's true, and I mean the fans lost their shit when they saw him. But and I know that it's all kayfabe. I know that he's 100%. If he wasn't 100%, there's no fucking way that they'd put his ass in the ring and have him do the shit that he's done. Um, but they gotta work this out via the storyline. It's just a very uncomfortable storyline for me because I'm just so used to Will Ospreay being um like I said, like an invincible superhero. Like, he's a superhero. I can see how kids would see this dude as a superhero. And then you got the show opening with him fucking admittedly crying about his defeat against John Moxley to another superhero, Kenny Omega. You got two fucking Starship Troopers, like two fucking Mighty Morphin Power Rangers sitting in the back injured, and it was a very unsettling match. It was very uncomfortable. I'm happy that Will won, but I'm also not happy that he was even in the fucking match. Like I don't it's a great story. I'm here for what's happening. I know it sounds like I'm bitching, but I'm bitching in kayfabe. Like I'm bitching about the, you know what I mean? Like I'm here for the story. Tell me what you want to tell me, but this is still uncomfortable. What did you think?
I fully agree with you on a lot of that. I'll briefly cover the match, but then I want to speak to what you're talking about with like where are we going with this? And
Yeah.
I think I have a theory anyway on why this is happening. But Hechicero and Osprey have a very good match. Osprey is using a whole lot more groundwork, partly because Hechicero's whole strategy this match was to keep him too locked up to fly. And then for a long part of this match, Hechicero just keeps attacking Will Ospreay's left arm where he's got like the stinger from his neck. And keeps attacking Osprey's neck until we get to the point where the ringside doctor is checking on him, and commentary is, Brian Danielson is forced to agree with Don Callis, which he found as uncomfortable as you did. That either Osprey is cleared to wrestle and perform, in which case let the match go on, or he's not, in which case call it in favor of Hechicero.
Yep.
Pick a lane. And so finally the doctor gets out of there and Will Ospreay continues the match, and ultimately he is able to get kind of a quick, you know pinning situation against Hechicero after he hits a like one-armed, one-legged Styles Clash and then connects with a hidden blade for the pinfall. um And upon this occurring, Callis immediately jumps up from the announce desk saying it's time to go to Plan B. And everybody else at the announce desk is like, what the hell's Plan B? And we find out shortly after the match is over. I thought initially the Death Riders might come out because Marina Shafir, for some reason, was just standing out there watching Will Ospreay the entire
Yeah.
time.
Sitting in the
I'm like,
audience, like just watching what was happening, and I think I know why she was there.
yeah,
But
yeah.
well,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
I think it gets explained later. But instead of the Death Riders coming out, the Don Callis family's Mark Davis hits the ring. And Mark Davis used to be a longtime friend and tag partner with Osprey when they were all part of the United Empire. But Mark Davis is not Osprey's friend here. He comes out and drills Osprey with the gut wrench pile driver that he's very fond of using, and just obliterated him.
Yeah.
And so Osprey once again is just shown, he may have won the match, but he paid a hefty price for it. And I could see how we would end up in a situation like, where are we going with this? I think it's part of the bigger plan of making no one on the roster too big to fail. Like
Yeah.
nobody's going to be Goldberg levels of invincibles. Like, and I think that's the whole point of what has seemed to be for a good portion of this year, watching all of the guys that we consider to be the top talent,
Invincible.
whether it's Swerve Strickland, Hangman Adam Page, MJF, um, Kenny Omega, or Will Ospreay. None of them are too big to take the L. We haven't seen Swerve Strickland since he, got humbled by Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega just straight up got his ass beat at Dynasty.
Yeah.
Um, then we had Will Ospreay just straightforwardly get destroyed by John Moxley. Like there was no shenanigans in that one, unlike, Kenny Omega, who, was hit with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. And there was referee down shenanigans. Osprey just got destroyed by Moxley.
Yeah.
Like there's no, well, he couldn't have done it without the Death Riders. No, Moxley just whipped his
Yeah.
ass.
No, no, he did
Um,
it without the Death Riders, my guys. Yeah. Yeah,
MJ
he phew.
MJF recently had to eat humble pie against Brody King. Brody King came out and won an eliminator match against him like in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So basically there's this through line that nobody is so big in the britches that they can't lose. And that is the opposite side of the coin of on any given night, anyone on the roster could win the championship. And that's the overarching story that I feel I'm being told here, because we've got everybody on the roster actively going after the AEW World Title. So there is nothing but contenders and potential champions. And there's no one so good. No one so invincibly Michael Jordan, or pick someone who is just considered one of the best in the world at this. None of them are too big to lose.
Yeah.
So it's necessary if you want to have that suspense and not look at like, well, it's Kenny Omega, he's obviously going to win, or hey, it's Will Ospreay versus like Brian Keith, he's obviously going to win. They're trying to set the table and set the environment to where on any given night any of these guys could win, and anybody on the roster is championship material, no matter how good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm here for it, but it
It,
is it is hard to see. It is hard to
it
it's
is.
hard to watch.
It's uncomfortable. This is that part. The best example I can think of, and this might make me sound a bit on the nerdy side, and I accept it. I am a geek at heart. It's the Two Towers chapter of the Lord of the Rings, where the heroes are on the down. Nothing is looking good. It's very, very bad. But what it's setting the stage for is the ending where the heroes come back and win. And so that's what I'm hoping we're setting the stage for here, is a comeback. And I feel like they tried to give us that hope, because they're aware it was tough to watch. If you were a fan of Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega, Dynasty was hard. And that's why
Yeah.
we had that sequence earlier between Ospreay and Omega. They're trying to throw a bone to the fan base. It's like, yes, we're telling a story where the heroes are not winning right now. Hangman Adam Page has been gone, not to be seen, since MJF took him out, and we don't have any idea if he'll ever have the ability to challenge for the title. Swerve Strickland has been gone since Kenny Omega beat him last. We haven't seen him. And we've done nothing but watch Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay in several occasions getting their asses handed to them. So it's a rough time for the heroes in AEW at the moment.
Yeah.
But I believe that it's part of a bigger plan for both a heroic comeback and also to set the environment that even the villains are the best wrestlers in the world in AEW. And as such, even the heroes have bad nights.
Yeah. Great. It's a great freaking story. If that's where we're going, let's go. So far it's been fantastic, but also, ugh.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough if you're a fan of these men, and if you're an AEW fan, you probably are. So but again, I feel like that's intentional. They're self-aware about it. That's why we had the sequence between Omega and Ospreay earlier. Like,
Yeah.
it's throwing the audience a bone. Like, we're aware. We're aware that this is rough, but bear with us. It's gonna pay off. We promise. I feel like that's what's being told here.
Yeah.
That said, after that match, we are taken to our next match, or rather a promo spot between AEW World Champion Tekla, the wielder of the phrase dumb bitches, uh, and a wound up, very annoyed Brawling Bird, Alex Windsor.
Yeah.
The stage is set as Renee Paquette is trying to start a segment at the top of the entrance ramp. And then from the crowd, Tekla interrupts her and says that while Renee Paquette looks really, really good, nobody paid to see her flap her lips when the toxic spider is here. And She then went on to talk about how she beat Jamie Hayter at Dynasty to keep the AEW World Women's title and said that the whole division is filled with dumb bitches. And we were like, no, you don't say. She's really leaning into her use of dumb bitches. But upon hearing that, Alex Windsor shows up also with a microphone and says she's not about to let Tekla come out here and say that she legitimately beat Jamie Hayter. And she then says she'd be happy to beat the piss out of Tekla right now. But Tekla responded um,
Crazy,
that
crazy. And
she
when she
responded
said
by
dumb bitch,
saying
yeah.
when she says dumb bitches, surprise, surprise, Alex Windsor appears. And then she's like, don't blame me because your best friend lost at Dynasty, and damn sure don't blame me because your fiance lost. So, shots fired. And Windsor reminds Tekla that she ain't the only champion there, that Windsor is the New Japan Women's Strong Champion. And she points out that in Japan, Tekla is known as the one who was stupid enough to get fired. And Tekla's like, hey, I didn't get fired from Japan. Wait. Okay, so I did get fired from Japan, but that's because they can't handle Tekla. No one can. And Windsor was like, I'm ready to handle your ass right now. So come on down. And Tekla was like, yeah, about that? How about no?
No.
And so Windsor said, okay, fine. How about tomorrow on Collision, you put your AEW Women's World Championship on the line? And Tekla was like, okay. And right at that moment, Sky Blue and Julia Hart attempt to attack Windsor, but she beats the crap out of both of them.
Yeah.
And Tekla's just laughing about it. And that's how they ended that segment.
So amusing.
It was pretty amusing. And again, there's a degree of self awareness. Like, we're like, oh God, Tekla keeps saying dumb bitch.
Dumb
Well,
bitches, yes.
apparently she's leaning into it. It was kind of like the first time we heard Okada say bitch, and we were like, what? And then it grew on us. So I think the dumb bitches thing might grow on us if she keeps
Yeah.
leaning into it.
Yeah. I think that's gonna
Um,
be her thing now.
I think it is definitely going to be her thing.
Now,
Um, go
bro,
ahead.
the next segment that happened after that, I didn't tell you this, but I think that's literally the best promo I have ever seen the Death Riders do. This is the best promo that John Moxley has done as the quote unquote leader, the leader, non-leader of the Death Riders. It was brilliant.
Did you want to go over it then?
I mean, sure, I will totally do so, but I just wanted to point out that I really thought it was really, really, really good. Like
I thought it
they
was pretty good too. There was some cheekiness about it.
yeah,
Some like, I know I'm being ironic here from John Moxley,
yeah.
but I digress. Please speak to it.
But he basically starts out and he's talking to Daniel Garcia and I think Willie Yuta are back there. And he's mentioning that he likes being uh surprised. Like he opens up with that. And Will Osprey, uh, who he's known for a long time, never surprised him. Never surprises him. Like basically, he knows what he's gonna do. He knows how he's going to respond. And then at that moment, Marina comes in, and Moxley asks her how Osprey looked, and all she said was rough. And 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 he nods to that, and then Moxley continues with like he could be, maybe he's blessed with the fact that he could see how things are going to end up or how things are going to play out, or he knows how people are going to respond to stuff, or maybe he just pays more attention than everybody. But Osprey showed his cards. He showed his hand. He showed Moxley what he was going to do, how he would respond. So don't blame. Moxley for knowing and responding in kind. And he pointed out that he didn't take pleasure in the suffering of others, uh, but that there can be beauty in the suffering of others. Uh, like he's not like this wizard of darkness. He prefers the light, but he does acknowledge that he can't have one without the other. And then he asked, I think he asked Daniel who he was facing. Moxley asked Daniel who Moxley would be facing tomorrow night on Collision, and that's when Garcia tells him that it was Nick Wayne, and the audience is like, "Woo!" They remember Nick Wayne. I remember Nick Wayne. He's a fantastic wrestler. I'm just very interested to see how he's making his comeback. Like, what's his character? What are we doing with it? And how he's gonna handle Moxley, because Moxley is in his fucking prime right now. Like, Moxley is at the top of his game. He is the Roman Reigns of AEW right now. Like, no shit, my man is riding high and looking fantastic. And he mentions playfully, um, he doesn't know much about Nick, but he does say, "Please surprise me." Uh, and this is Collision or Continental rules. This is adult stuff for grown up, so leave your mom in the back, please. Right? And I'm like, oh, you don't know much about him, but you know that, huh? You cheeky little fucker. Um, I don't know. I thought the whole promo was really good. I thought Moxley looked good. Moxley, as I've said, Moxley is looking better than he has looked in quite some time. And I think that he has settled nicely into the role given to him, and now he's just running with it. Like, he understands what he wants from this character. He understands what he wants it to look like. Goofy or not to us, he has taken the character that I wish. Oh my God, the oh God, come on, kid,
Gabe Kid.
kid, Gabe. Yes, I wish Gabe Kid would adopt more of an attitude. Like this. I mean, be goofy, but also, make that shit work for you. Um, so hopefully Gabe will get in his stride and be able to do so. But this is the Moxley that I've been looking for here. This this psychotic wall of insanity that is just good in the ring. He doesn't need the help from his teammates, but they're there. He doesn't need it though. And that's, I don't know. This is a real good look for him, and I hope they continue with this. And I'm excited to see this match between him and Nick.
Yeah, I enjoyed this promo for a few reasons. Mainly because I felt like John Moxley is trying to outline a character who looks like a loose cannon, but is actually strategizing.
Yes.
And there were several points of deliberate, like irony. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is he opens up talking about how he doesn't like to be surprised, and he's studied Will Ospreay for a long time. And he then proceeds to ask Marina Shafir how he was looking. And then he goes on to say, maybe he just pays more attention than everyone else. But there's two spots in this promo where it's like, are you paying more attention than everyone else? Because, like, you were backstage and you could have watched how Osprey was looking without Marina Shafir doing, recon for you.
He might
And
have been doing something else.
well, let me just make my point here. He says he's paying more attention. Clearly, though, he had Marina go and look, right? A little bit
Hmm.
of deliberate irony. And it's even added to when he's like, I'm always paying more attention. Who's my opponent on Collision? He has to ask Garcia. So there's some deliberate irony there. He then goes on to say, when he's talking about the suffering of others, he says, I prefer light over darkness. I prefer light over death. And I'm like, sure, that's why they're called the Life Riders, right? Um, so I mean, there's several spots where it seems like he is saying one thing and doing another, almost immediately. And
Yeah.
that plays through even where he's like, I don't know hardly anything about Nick Wayne, and then he makes the reference to like leave your mom and back. So it's like clearly he knows something about Nick Wayne. So I think he's trying to, portray this character who looks unhinged and get you to underestimate him, only for him to then demolish your ass in the ring because he was paying a lot more attention than you thought he was.
Yeah. Yeah, I took the stuff like stuff like that, the fact that he says he's a fan, or he prefers light, but he also realizes that you can't have one without the other. I thought that he was basically insinuating that while he might love the light or might prefer the light, he has to be one that works in darkness because it's needed of him to be that person. That's what
Well,
I thought he was referring to.
I agree. I think all of that stuff is meant to be applicable,
Yeah.
and John Moxley is just saying separate different things with multiple meanings. Like this
Mm.
whole promo felt like it was John Moxley using several different double entendres, and not the sexual kind, just the ones with double meaning.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's wanting you to read between the lines. And
Yeah.
so
Okay.
I agree. This was a very good promo from John
Yeah.
Moxley. It wasn't incoherent. This was
Mm-mm.
like deliberately trying to offset anybody who was looking, to make you
Yeah.
not know which way he's actually coming from. And that's good. I mean, I think that's the character he's trying to portray here.
Yeah.
He wants you to think that he's not paying much attention, or that he's a total loose cannon, when
Yeah.
in fact none of that is actually the truth of John Moxley, but this is what he feels he needs to do.
Yeah. Yeah. This like he I think this is John Moxley at his like peak. Like this is good seasoned Moxley right here. This is good stuff.
Yeah, it really is, and I'm here for it because John
Yeah.
Moxley is throwing out like killer matches of late, and he's
Yep.
getting it
Oh
done in the
man.
ring.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
But following that promo from one John Moxley, we are taken to the TBS Championship match between Willow Nightingale and a returning comeback for Camille. And Willow Nightingale is trying to add to her reputation for being a comeback killer.
Yeah.
And since Camille attacked her at Dynasty, she's got a little extra heat on this one, but she's coming in with some extra kinesio tape on her shoulder as well. That said, what were your thoughts on this particular match?
I'm not gonna waste a lot of time here. Uh, this was a match that was bad, and it was bad because Camille was bad. Um, Willow, I think, did the best she could. She gave her a clean slate. This is another one of those matches where you have a wrestler who is giving another wrestler a clean slate to do what you want, to be vicious, to show people what you got. This is kind of reminiscent of when Gabe Kidd had this match with the Orange Cassidy, and Orange Cassidy just pretty much putty in your hands. Here you go, sculpt. Make this match. And instead, it was just him doing a repetitive move, and screaming at the camera.
And a
This
lot of
is
taunting.
yeah. This is no different here. Camille did a little bit of taunting, but her taunting was so uninteresting that I couldn't even tell you when she was taunting versus when she was just looking for her next spot. Um, Also, her moves are either sloppy, they're sloppy, they come too fast, they come too slow, like she misses her fucking spot, or uh she's too damn gentle with what she's trying to do. Like you can see that what she's doing is just making a whole bunch of noise with her body as opposed to actually pulling off a move. And if it were not for Willow, who in many cases made painful noises whenever she did
Or
something,
hyper sold it.
or hyper sold it, like again. And then this just takes me back to when they showed Camille attacking Willow backstage and like throwing her against the wall repeatedly. and it was just her gently guiding Willow Nightingale as Willow ran herself into the wall. And it's like, you're not, this doesn't look good. And this is just round 2 of not looking good. I waited all this time. You know what? That's not true. I didn't wait. I just thought that whenever I would see Camille, she would come back and actually show us something, because she had a little bit of a, a little bit of a push right before she disappeared. Like, people were up on her because she was getting abused verbally and probably physically from Mercedes Monet. So she already had the fans. People love the underdog story. It's like, yeah, get her. And then she just kind of vanished, and she came back as this, and it's not interesting. And not only is it not interesting, I know I said it wasn't going to take long. It's going to be one more thing. It's not good. It's not good. Maybe she's fantastic as an American Gladiator. I haven't seen it. I bet she is. I would love to see what she can do in her element. I don't think this is her element, though. I don't think in the ring as a wrestler is her element. I if it is, she needs a lot more work, warm up or whatever to get back into her groove. But I don't see it. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it. When you can't, her bumps, not even her bumps looked good. Everything was awkward and uncomfortable. And it's like, did y'all just
Yeah.
meet? Did y'all like just meet? Like, did y'all just like come in the same freaking night, bump into each other and go, oh, sorry. Oh, my bad. Oh, we have a match tonight? Oh, geez. Yeah, is that what happened? Because that's what it looked like. And again, it wasn't because of Willow. It was not Willow. Willow, ever the professional, did the best she could. But you can only do so much. This match was unnecessary. That's all I want to say. What did you think?
I largely agree. I had a few problems with this match, and they're all as they relates to Camille. Um, and I'll try to be in some ways constructive, but bear with me because, like, on an otherwise stellar episode of Dynamite, this is the sucking black hole, and it's unfortunate that it occurred because otherwise this episode would be nearly flawless. Um, and it's also unfortunate that it happens to be like the women's match on the card. Issues that I had with Camille. One, I kept hearing from the announce desk how she's such a powerhouse, but I didn't see any of that play out in the ring. If anything, I feel like Camille, maybe it's nerves or something. I don't know what the issue is. I just am going to report what I saw as a fan. Camille has this listlessness, and I see this much more often amongst the women than I do the men, but I have seen it from the men. But it's like you're doing everything like with no intensity whatsoever.
Yeah, I think
So
they think that face is supposed to be a face of not caring. Like, they don't care what's happening
yeah,
to their
it's
opponent, and they
it's
think that
not
looks badass.
yeah, it's not just the resting bitch face look though, like the
Yeah.
impassive face. It's not just that. But it does add to it. It's like this, oh, I'd rather be anywhere else but here.
Yeah.
Wrestling in the ring and looking like with the same look you have as, like, I don't know, when you're being hit on by someone at a bar that you have no interest in, just doesn't work. You have
Yeah.
to look like you are intense and you want to be there and you are where the best fucking wrestles. So you can't phone it fucking in.
Yeah.
And if it looks like you need a B12 shot and some iron, then you are in the wrong business. And I
Yeah.
felt both of those things coming off of Camille. There was no intensity in any of it. And as many times as the announce desk was like, oh, she's such a powerhouse, I'm thinking I didn't see any of that. Not only did this particular match, the way it was produced, not showcase much of Camille's quote unquote power, because most of what she did was like shoulder twists because she was attacking Willow's shoulder.
Yeah.
But on top of that, like, she didn't look great in it. The impassiveness wasn't just in the face, but in the way she sold things, the way she moved. Why it looks like Willow is beating herself up is because Camille has zero intensity in everything she's doing. You even made the point that she didn't sell the pounce very well.
Yeah.
And I find that to be a problem that I see much more often in the women. Like, I see it The face appears, even though the in-ring work has gotten better, the face appears on people like Sky Blue. Julia Hart feels like that's the way she's been wrestling of late. I see it, unfortunately, in the few encounters we've had thus far with like Lena Cross, it's the same thing. And that needs to not be the case. Like, you need to get in there and wrestle with intensity and a bit of viciousness, because if you can't sell me on you being angry and intense and in a battle, then the whole thing loses its believability.
Yeah.
you know um Another one that I see that with, like, where I don't believe that they're actually capable of being upset or angry, because like it just must not happen in their actual life that often, so they've never been in a fight, they've never gotten outraged or something, so they can't sell it convincingly, would be like Maxine Dupree in the WWE. Her trying
Yeah.
to be angry is like watching an irritated kitten. I don't buy it. She can't evoke that correctly, because I don't know, she's lived a fucking charmed life or something, and that's fantastic. But you're trying to play somebody who is basically a gladiator in modern times, and you've got to look war ready, and I don't believe your fucking war face. And that was the issue here throughout with Camille. And this was one of the very rare times where I felt like what I was seeing in the ring was at complete odds. It was disparate with what the announce desk was going on and on about.
Yeah.
It was one of those situations where it's like, why are you guys lying? Like, I don't see power here. You're trying to
Why you
convince me that
always
Camille is this
lying?
super powerhouse, but Willow Nightingale is more of a powerhouse than her.
Yeah.
Megan Bain is absolutely a much bigger, nastier powerhouse than Camille. Chris Statlander, absolutely a more powerful powerhouse than Camille. Um, you know, I don't see it. I'm not seeing it. And this match was almost exclusively a stinker between, I I want to blame Camille, but I don't know who produced the match. But the production of the match, the choice of moves and maneuvers, however that was set up, was bad here, because it was a very boring match of
Yeah.
mostly twisting Willow's arm, like really boring. And while that might be a sensible, like, strategic choice, like, oh, Willow's shoulder is hurt. You know what else hurts shoulders? Just about every big power move that exists, from a German suplex to a power bomb to a body slam to anything. And instead, it was just, let's play arm twisty.
Yeah.
That was the most boring shit. And this was a real stinker of a match on an otherwise epic episode of Dynamite, and that is unfortunate. And I believe that is the full cadre of thoughts I had about this. It was not a great comeback for Camille, and it was certainly not one of the better matches I've recently seen Willow Nightingale in. But again, I agree with you. It wasn't Willow's fault. She was selling and potentially overselling the moves because of how lackluster they were being performed.
Yeah. Yep.
But following that unfortunate match, we are taken backstage where Hikaru Shida is cutting a promo with Chris Statlander standing there stoically unable to get a word in
Well,
edgewise.
that's
And
right. Chris Stanlander. You got it right.
Standlander.
Yeah.
Do you want to
Sure.
speak to this particular
Um.
promo?
Yeah. It was. So I'm getting immediate Oscar vibes here. Because I feel like Hikaru Shida is going villain. She's reaching her villain arc. Um. But she said that it was a great victory for their great friend Willow Nightingale, although, uh, as many people have caught on, her tone seemed less than sincere about it. It was a bit sarcastic. She does this look. She does this thing on her face whenever she's talking about stuff like that, where she smiles, and then immediately the smile, or a little too soon, the smile fades, and she has this look on her face like, ugh, you know. She's doing that.
Eye
Um,
roll.
yeah, that kind of thing. She's not being subtle about it at all. But she mentioned that last week on Collision, uh, she said that her and Statlander made a great team. Uh, as two former AEW Women's World Champions, and that they were going to team up again for Collision. And then she, did some more laughing. Her voice, whenever she spoke in Japanese, was very villainous, though. It was really cool. I even mentioned that she would do really good as a voice actress, because like she's like that. If that's her villain voice, chef's kiss. And she walked off, and Statlander was standing there like, Brr. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and that was that. A bit
yeah.
weird because that's I don't know if Statlander knows what to do with herself most of the time whenever it's promo time. But
Yeah, it felt like Sheeta surprised Statlander by letting her know that they're teaming up again,
yeah.
and Statlander's just like, "Wait, what? What's
Yeah.
happening?"
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe the villainy arc will pop out and she'll just start beating up Chris Statlander because she's trying to get to Willow or something. But she is very she's got a hate boner for Willow that's growing.
You're not wrong there.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm not sure exactly how Statlander fits into that equation yet. But I don't know. I feel like Sheeta's plan could backfire spectacularly because she's going to end up pissing off both Statlander and Willow, and then they'll unite against her.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a bad time for Hikaru Sheeta.
Well, if she's pulling her Oscar, then she's gonna need some backup. So maybe somebody will pop up to assist. I'm not sure who that person would be, but we'll see. If it's Penelope Ford, then
Oh, no. I was going to say Queen Aminata, but,
that would be so much better if it was Queen Amina. It would be so much better.
yeah, I felt like I did enough talking about bad female wrestlers just there with Camille. I don't need to speak to Penelope Ford at the moment. Um,
Like an Abaddon.
oh,
I
now
don't
that
think
would
she
be
wrestles
phenomenal.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she might be only Abaddon at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
I digress. Um, moving on from there, we're taken backstage, and you know we we see Renee Paquette catching up with Darby Allin to get his final thoughts before the big main event, and Allin then runs right into Sting, who is here. It's Sting,
It's
and
yeah.
Allin asked Sting if he had any advice for him, and Sting responded, "No, you already know what to do. Now just get out there and do it." And Allin said, "It's showtime." And Sting was like, "No, it's not showtime. It's your time. You hear me? It's your time. Go take it." And we hear the crowd chanting for Allin as we set the stage for the entrances for the main event, which we have arrived at, the AEW World Championship match. Darby Allin challenging the defending champion Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF. And what were your
Now
thoughts
it
on
took
this main event?
it took everything in me to switch total girl mode on, because and let me explain what I mean. Um Chicks have this thing where whenever they get excited, they start doing something where they repeat the same sentence over and over again. Okay, so this was happening in my head. And I didn't want to annoy the ever loving shit out of Josh, guys, but this is so here's what's happening. I'm watching and I see because they show you MJF first, and he's walking out to go to the ring. Nobody's there to interview him or anything, but you do see him. Okay, and then they cut to Darby, and then Renee is there to interview him, and I'm like, is he gonna is he gonna win tonight? Okay, so that's one. And then he doesn't even get to say anything because then Sting's there, and I'm like, Is he gonna win tonight? And Sting is talking to him, and then Darby says, "Do you have any advice for me?" And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Is he going to win tonight?" Then he says, "It's showtime," and Sting's like, "No, it's your time. It's your time." And I'm like, "Oh my God, is he going to win tonight?" So that's what was going on in my head repeatedly. I hear Darby, 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 like thousands of people just chanting his name. He goes out. It's like magical dreamland. Like seriously, it's like a dream. He comes like he's been emotional for like entire show. Darby has, and I'm like, I mean, it's a big match. I get it. But he's been hella emotional the entire episode. So I've already been squinting at him. I've been squinting at this whole episode. We get out there, it's time for the match, and MJF does MJF does his typical MJFing, and then Darby does his Darbying, and then he just coffin drops all around the ring. Like there's just like Darby is falling from heaven, 4, 6, 20, doesn't matter. There's just raining, it's raining Darbies, and the entire time I'm like, "He going to win?" Like I'm trying my best not to scream that. It's late. My body wants to scream, is this dude about to win? And then he does the move. He pins him. 3 count. Darby Allin is the champion. And I'm still in my head screaming, is he
Clearly. Yeah, spoiler, Darby Allin defeats MJF and becomes the new
winning?
AEW World Champ.
What?
Yeah, it wasn't a long match. Essentially, MJF enters the ring, immediately calls for a timeout because he forgot to surrender his Dynamite Diamond ring to Aubrey Edwards. So he fetches it out of his pants and tries to hand it to Aubrey, and Aubrey's like, but she takes it because it's a foreign object. This one more foreign than most. Um, and then as she turns to go, like, take it and drop it off in the corner, MJF, of course, kicks Darby Allin low. And he then grabs Darby and calls for the headlock takeover. Um, but Allin reverses that, sends MJF into the ropes where he almost runs into the referee. So she has to turn away again. And then when MJF turns back to face Darby Allin, Allin hits him with a low blow. And then Darby picked him up for a Scorpion Death Drop. And after he hits that, he hits a coffin drop. But that's not enough. He goes to the opposite corner and hits a second one. Still not enough. He goes to a third corner. So he goes all around the world, all 4 corners with coffin drops before pinning MJF and becoming the new AEW World Champion. And I personally thought this was really well done because we'd seen in the past with Brody King that MJF, caught out of his element or caught off guard, and in this case, getting counter low blow definitely counted. He's not invincible. Brody King beat him in an eliminator match in like 5 seconds. And so Darby Allin being able to defeat MJF with a counter low blow followed by a Scorpion Death Drop and then 4 back-to-back coffin drops is absolutely believable. And it was fantastic. It was wonderful catharsis for how many of like the heroes of AEW we've been seeing go down to MJF lately.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean I can't hate on it. That I thought the story was told fantastic. It did not seem out of nowhere. It did not seem out of pocket, and it did not seem unbelievable. This entire episode was just chef's kiss. I do My only issue is the Willow versus Camille match that I feel like they put in because they needed to do something with time. and
Well,
and I would have preferred to watch uh anything else other than other than that match. Harley Harley could have I could have watched the backstage segment where Harley spent the entire time singing about the kinesio tape that she was putting onto Willow's arm or shoulder. I would have watched that and been way more entertained.
yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was that was the only downside to this otherwise amazing episode. Um, so once Darby realizes that he's won, he has this look on his face. Like for him, the moment must have been surreal because he didn't look like he believed it. He was like, "Wait, I won." Um, and the whole locker room ends up spilling out to celebrate with him, and they all hug, and there's lots of pyro and confetti, and somehow they put together a, big screen presentation of Darby as the new champion, like immediately. That was pretty cool. Um, but Darby's still kind of looking around, like he's looking for somebody, and we know who. And finally, Sting comes out, and he comes out on the ramp, and the crowd's all fired up. And Shivani was apparently surprised by it because we were like, "Come on, Shivani, say it!" And he's finally like, "Sting is here," and it's like, "Oh, good of you to join us." Um, and Sting enters the ring. He's ramping up the crowd to cheer for Darby, and he hugs Darby, and the show ends up going off the air with Darby and Sting celebrating his new AEW World Championship. And this was a pretty fantastic episode, I feel, save for one moment, one match. Um, that all said, what was your review of this episode of AEW Dynamite?
um, I was fully ready to give this episode a 10. And I don't normally give 10s out to episodes because I try to reserve that for like PLEs and PPVs and whatnot. Um Special segments. But this was a fantastic episode. Like this was like watching Dynasty. This was like like a Dynasty Part 2. Uh it just kept going. This felt like a PPV. It was fantastic. The storytelling was amazing. Uh like everything about this episode was amazing except for the match between Willow and Camille, and it is unfucking fortunate that I have to say that. I have to put that clause in because honestly, it was bad enough to mention. It was bad enough to bitch about like I did. It was bad enough to harp on. Um but even with that, I have to give this episode at least a 9.5. I'm gonna rest on a 9 because that match was really bad. This was probably no, it wasn't probably. Again, I'm gonna say it. This was the best episode of Dynamite this year. Probably one of the best Dynamite episodes. Period. Yeah, so definitely a 9. Top tier.
Yep. Uh, I am feeling much the same way. I feel like this was on its way to being nearly a perfect 10, and then Willow and Camille had their match, and it dropped to a 9.
Yeah.
Um, Absolutely outstanding episode, though. It's top tier all the way. I can't recommend it highly enough that folks watch it. Um, and not only because of the fantastic main event with a winning Darby Allin over MJF, but just the whole rest of the episode was really really good. This is great. This is great television, and
Yeah.
I think I see where they're trying to go. I spoke to it earlier. They're trying to make it so that no one on the roster looks invincible. No one's unbeatable, and on any given night, anybody can be the champ. I think that is a smart way to handle your roster because now there's no There's no mid card guys, there's no bottom card guys. You just have a roster of potential champions. And so on
Yep.
any given night, anybody could be the guy. And to draw a parallel, I feel like back during the Attitude Era, Darby Allin picking up the win here feels a lot like when Mick Foley beat The Rock for the world title. And everybody thought this is insane. But it was good. It ended up
Yeah.
being a good thing, and it set very much a similar environment um, for the roster during the Attitude Era as what I feel AEW is doing right here with its own roster. Um, and you made a good point. Like, you know, we're the distinction between the quality and the intensity of the work that we get on their television shows versus the pay-per-views is small. Like, they of course try and go even more all out for the pay-per-view, but they don't hold anything back on the television weekly. And this is a good example of that. This, I agree with you. This felt like, you know, this is just part 2 of AEW Dynasty, you know.
Yeah.
So it was really, really a good episode, and in the main, I am super impressed with the product that AEW is putting forth right now, and I cannot recommend it more highly to any wrestling fans. If you want to see pro wrestling and you legitimately want to see where the best are able to wrestle, it's at AEW. That's where it's at. So top tier AEW, well done.
Mhm.
That said, this has been our review of AEW Dynamite, and I want to thank all of our listeners who joined us for this episode, and I invite you to join us for our next one. But until then, there's nothing left for me to do but roll the outro.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Top Tier Wrestling. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the latest wrestling news and shows. You can find us on all major podcast platforms, as well as our YouTube channel, where we upload all of our episodes. You can also follow us on Instagram and X for updates and to join the conversation. Until next time, everyone, remember, wrestling is always better when it's top tier.